Hello folks, my name is Jim Worthen. The show is Worthen One-on-One. And as I say on Big Time TV, a special edition of Worthen One-on-One for our upcoming election. And my producer keeps telling me, you gotta tell people, go ahead and vote, get out the vote. Tell your friends who haven't voted to vote. Today's special edition is a series of candidates that I support and are endorsed by many groups across the state, and they are on a forum at the Goleta Valley Library. Some drove from LA, some drove from San Diego, and then several of our local candidates. So we want you to see it, enjoy it, tell your people. We're on channel 17 at 2 o'clock on Monday, 5 o'clock on Wednesday, 7 o'clock on Friday, and on TVSB channel website, and check the on-demand button and search down to Worthen One-on-One, and we're on YouTube, search Worthen One-on-One. Thank you.
So my name is Eric Early, and I'm running for Attorney General of the once and future great state of California. We can get this thing. I'm telling you, June 7th is coming up, and thanks to this Marxist who's got the job now, they're doing attack ads on me all over the place. You know, Eric Early supports Trump. Eric Early supports our Second Amendment. Eric Early is pro-life. Eric Early was one of the leaders of the recall movement. I'm trying to criticize the guy, but he's basically, that's me. That's me. I do support Donald Trump, and I did support Donald Trump. I think he's one of the best presidents we ever had in this country. And I do believe the election was stolen. And no, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and you're not conspiracy theorists. And I'll tell you something that I don't like. I don't like a number of things. But I don't like getting called a conspiracy theorist by a bunch of flat-out conspiracy theorists. These people, they're nuts. What were they doing for the first 3.5 years of Donald Trump's presidency? Every second of every minute of every day. Donald Trump colluded with Russians to get elected. You know, if you went into a Russian restaurant and got a piece of bread, then you were somehow implicated, you know. That was the greatest conspiracy theory of the century, if not the last 2 centuries, and those crazies have the temerity to call us conspiracy theorists. Yes. So, a little bit about me. I run a great nationally recognized law firm. We have 30 lawyers. I'm the managing partner. We practice in courts all around the state of California. We practice in courts around the nation. Many amazing clients. One of my great clients these days is One America News Network. And those are amazing patriots. And many of you know what they're going through. You know, they've been booted off of DirecTV because you're not allowed to take the positions that they take. We're not allowed to take the positions we take. We're all a bunch of domestic enemies, according to these crazies. We people who love our Constitution, who love our nation, who love our men and women of law enforcement, who believe in Judeo-Christian values, who believe in the nuclear family, who support our history and know the greatness of America, we are now somehow the domestic enemies. That's how crazy things are right now. So I was really, really thankful. Actually, last night in Newport Beach, Charles Herring, the president of One American News, and Dan Ball, one of their anchors, came and co-hosted a fundraiser for me, guest hosted a fundraiser for me. And the day before in Anaheim Hills, the sage of South Central, Larry Elder. He's amazing. He guest hosted a fundraiser for me. You got to see him speak in person sometime. He's something else. Something else. So, you know, we've got an amazing campaign going. You know, we're building momentum on a daily basis. I've been speaking up and down the state for the last year, speaking of patriots all around the state. Thousands of people, and you are not alone in here. You know, there are I believe there are millions of people across the political spectrum, across the racial spectrum, across the socioeconomic spectrum who know what's going on and are done. Yep. Even the Democrats are saying these woke have gone too far. Yeah. So I've got a wonderful wife. She's incredibly sweet and loving, and you'll meet her one day, or many of you will, and you'll think that, but you don't want to cross her because she's tough as nails. Amazing. She grew up on Navy bases. She's a registered nurse. Between us, we have 4 kids. And one of our sons is on the USS Harry Truman right now, and my wife actually went and visited him in Italy last week when they docked in Italy, because they were out for 6 months, but now it's been made indefinite because of what's going on in the world right now. So we really do have a blessed life. We don't need politics in our life. Don't need it. So why do we do this stuff? We do this stuff because we love this country. Yes. We love this country. We are the shining city on a hill. We are the greatest nation in human history, and we are under attack. Yes. And the battle has started. Yeah. We are in a battle right now in this nation, and good people and fighters are now starting to step up, and we must step up, because these nut jobs on the other side won't stop. They'll keep going, and they've had a large head start on us. And what I've been saying for a long time, we are in a battle of good versus evil in this nation. Good versus evil. They proudly call themselves progressives now. They proudly call themselves Democrat socialists. It's all code for communist. And they're coming out of every crack in the woodwork. And they're taking control of so many aspects of this society. You know, the PowerPoints, sort of, you know. They take over the school boards, which I believe school board is one of the most important positions in the country right now to run for. They, of course, have taken over the media. They've taken over the Democrat Party. This is not your Democrat Party 10 years ago. You can't talk to these people. There's no negotiating with them, and we can't back down to them anymore. They're moving into the courthouses. They're everywhere we look. Moving into the classrooms, of course. So my wife and I do this because we are fighting for all of our kids and all of their kids. We cannot let them throw this nation into over a century of darkness. And whether they know it or not, and the ones leading the pack know it, those are the absolute evil. So many of them are just complete idiots. They don't know where they're taking us. We can't allow it to happen. We're not going to allow it to happen. So much of this comes into what I'm running for: Attorney General, Chief Law Enforcement Officer, Chief Legal Officer in the state. Just so you know, every Attorney General, there are 58 Attorney Generals in the state, 58 counties. They all report up to the there are 58 district attorneys, and they all report up to the Attorney General. And the Attorney General has the right by California law to go in and take away cases and prosecutions from district attorneys who are not following the law, not protecting the citizens, not protecting the victims of crime. I'm going to do everything possible as Attorney General to make California safe again. Yes. I am not a politician. I am not politically correct. We got to be tough again. These criminals have to be taught that crime no longer pays in California. We got these rogue DAs down where I'm from. This guy Gascon, he's a flat-out Marxist. He's sick in the head. You got one in San Francisco, Bodine, who hopefully is going to be recalled any day now. And I want to see them both get recalled. But if they're not recalled, first thing I do, I get this job. I charge some of the great lawyers in the California Department of Justice, which is what the AG oversees, to go through the case files, the case lists of Gascon and Bodine, and we pull out every single case where they're not properly protecting the people, and they're treating the criminals as if they're wonderful people. We're going to take away those cases, and we're going to have their deputy DAs handle them. Down in LA, there's several hundred deputy DAs. They've been polled. Over 90% of them voted they want to see their boss Gascon get recalled. There is it's amazing. They have a mutiny going on in that office. We're going to let them handle these cases, but instead of reporting up to Gascon, they're going to report up to me. And we're going to protect the citizens again. We're going to put the law-abiding, hard-working, tax-paying citizens of our country first again. Okay? I'm going to come out all the time and support our brave men and women of law enforcement again. What a concept, right? I'm going to do everything possible to lock up these prison cells again. In the last 2 years, 30,000 just have been allowed to run wild. I will do everything possible to repeal this Proposition 47, which lets you steal up to 950 at a shot. And if you could do it 10, 15 times a day, you're good. And nothing happens to you. So we're going to make California safe again. This will work. I'm convinced of it. We can't be shy about it. We can't be politically correct about it. I'm fighting for every law-abiding American citizen of every race, creed, and color. Critical race theory. And this comes right back to Santa Barbara for me, as Bobby McGinnis knows. So 4 years ago, critical race theory is a huge issue for me. Huge. 4 years ago, I was at my desk and I got a call from these great parents in Santa Barbara. In my office in L.A., I had never heard of critical race theory at the time. Most of us had never heard of it. Sheridan Rosenberg, Greg Gander, James Finkner, they called me up. Eric, they're indoctrinating our kids in our schools to hate America. They're dividing our kids by race. We're trying to get the materials, and the Santa Barbara Unified School District is saying you're not entitled to see the materials. What can we do? So we formed a great group called Fair Education Santa Barbara, Brave Parents. And I was the lead lawyer, and we filed a lawsuit up here in Santa Barbara Superior Court, and nobody had ever seen anything like it before. They were calling it unconscious bias training up here at the time. And we're now told that that was the very first lawsuit ever brought in this country against what is now known as critical race theory. And the left-leaning press up here went absolutely crazy. They called all of the members of Fair Education Santa Barbara racists and white supremacists. Called me a racist and a white supremacist, right? And this is another thing I don't like. Don't like getting called a racist by a bunch of racists. Don't like it. Don't like it. These people on the far left, which is the most evil and dangerous force we've seen in this country in decades, are the most racist people we have seen. They eat, drink, breathe, smoke, dream racism and race. And they have the temerity to call us racist, to shut us down. We're not letting that happen anymore. Ronald Reagan used to say, evil is powerless when the good are unafraid. Nobody understands that line, unfortunately, more than the evil ones, who have been working overtime to keep the good afraid for so many years. We're not afraid anymore. We're stepping up. So we got the materials and we were shocked. All white people are racists. All white people are oppressors. Nobody had ever seen this stuff before. All brown people are victims. America's bad. Socialism is good. Faith is a myth. And this sexually over-the-top stuff that should not be in any kid's school anywhere. This gender fluidity stuff. And by the way, in case I don't say it, I will do everything I can to make sure we don't have people born as males in our daughters' sports. Period. End of story. And it's amazing that you got to be afraid to say that in this country. Serious? So we got the materials. We were stunned by it. You know, doesn't matter if you're born a boy or a girl. You can be anything you want to be. There are over 50 different genders of human beings. And all this transgender stuff, starting with kids in kindergarten and going up through high school and college. And that's why I support the bill that Ron DeSantis signed 2 weeks ago, the parental rights bill, which all it does is it prevents teachers from teaching and indoctrinating our youngest kids starting in kindergarten with this stuff without parental notice. And this is the MO of these crazies on the other side. They want to separate our kids from their parents and take total control of their brains. That is the personification of evil. So Bobby, somebody on our team, it might have been you, got the materials to Betsy DeVos. It was Bobby. who was Donald Trump's education secretary. She got it to Donald Trump. He looked at it and said, what the heck is this? And that started this entire movement against CRT in this country. So I will tell you something. I'm the only candidate in this race who talks like this. I'm the only candidate in this race who even understands this critical race theory stuff. And I hear from parents all around the state regularly. They send me lesson plans. They tell me what their kids are going through. I'll do everything possible as Attorney General, get this stuff out of our kids' schools. I will team up with the Attorney Generals from the red states, and we will fight this. But we have to start it, and we have to start it soon. I believe it is one of the most dangerous things facing our nation. There should be no question where these evil woke have come from. No question. You can practically compare word for word the way they think, the way they act, and what they say with these indoctrination materials. This brainwashing is incredibly powerful. These radicalized teachers unions, these teachers, there's some great teachers out there, but there's so many that are radicalized right now. They know exactly what they're doing. We have to protect our kids. We have to protect our parents. We have to do it. It's a huge issue for me, and we will do that. And just a couple other things I'll say. Election integrity is a huge issue for me. As I said, this presidential election was stolen. Anybody with a brain, anybody with common sense, anybody with instincts knows it was stolen. And I'll tell you something, it is amazing. You try and talk about this now. How quickly does the entire mainstream media and anybody else come down on you and shut you up? Yeah. What does that tell us about the kind of control that we're all under here? We're not the only, conservatives, Republicans are not the only ones concerned about elections and what is going on. This is across the board. You cannot even have a rational discussion or an investigation about this stuff without getting shut down. You should see when I get these interviews by these mainstream media crazies, they ask me, well, what evidence do you have that it was stolen? And I start, they come right down on me. I talk about all the affidavits sworn under oath, thousands of them. I talk about this was even before 2000 Mules, an incredible movie. And I look at them and I say, what proof do you have it wasn't stolen? I'm never going to hear that. Anyhow, they have none. As Attorney General, I'll do the deepest dive in this nation into the election process in this state. I have serious problems with universal mail-in balloting. I question whether it's even a constitutional statute. There's a reason why ballot harvesting is illegal in most states in the country. We got to deal with that. And these computerized machines don't even get me started on it. But with all that said, you all have to vote, okay? Because when I say this, I don't want to stop you from voting, because we hear from so many people, my vote's, it's all a scam. Why should I vote? It's a waste of time. You have to vote. As Mike Netter from the recall campaign will tell you, in the recall, 2.5 million Republicans did not even vote. If we don't vote, then our enemies have already gotten in our heads to the point where the people that can actually vote against them aren't even voting. Gotta vote. Okay, so I'll close up by saying, thank you, Bobby. Vote early for early is what we're saying. Vote early for early. This race, we have a very, very strong chance of being in the top 2 on June 7th. And then this Bonta who's got the job, who is a flat-out Marxist. He is a George Gascon he's a clone of George Gascon. I relish the opportunity to go after that flat-out Marxist, frankly. Yes. This is the greatest country in human history. We are under attack right now. As I'm saying more and more, our destiny as conservatives, our destiny as Republicans in this time in our history is to defeat this evil Marxist woke. Yes. If not us, who? Yes, that's right. If not now, when? We got to be tough. We can't be afraid anymore. We got to be strong. We are in a battle. This battle is going to take a while. It's not going to be easy. Those people on the other side, they fight. But it's going to take a while, but I firmly believe we're going to win this battle. God bless you all, and God bless this incredible country.
Wow, amazing, amazing speakers that have fire in them and they are not afraid. What a privilege to have them leading us today. So our next candidate is an accomplished public servant who has represented the interests of Central Coast families, farmers, and small businesses, owners for more than 3 decades. He has fought to provide fair, independent, and responsive solutions at every level of government, from Santa Barbara County to Washington, D.C. Mike is also an accomplished attorney specializing in agriculture, labor, and environmental law. Let's welcome Mike Stoker, California Assembly.
Well, thank you, Barbara. And now, I'm going to tee you up now. Okay, this is for you. When Eric said vote early, I was going to say, and go out to UCSB and vote 5 more times. You know what I want to do today, I'm going to take just a minute to talk a little bit about that prior public service, because I think it really ties in to what I bring to the plate, and not just being another legislator in Sacramento, but when I get there, being a legislator that's going to be really, really effective at doing what I do. I want to share with you, I think we all pretty much have, how did I get here, because I really didn't think I'd ever run again. And then I want to tell you back to why we're going to win. And I'm completely convinced we will win. When I share with you, that pathway, similar to what Anthony talked about on strategy. So my past background, I've been given for 30 years now, I've often given this line to people. I go, and this applies to there's plenty of Republicans in Washington, D.C. and Sacramento that are under the description of politician. You know what the difference between, and I guarantee this applies across the board, you know what the difference between a politician and a public servant is? The politician is the best paying job they've ever had, and they don't have a real job to go to in the private sector when they lose their job. And the public servant, it's the worst paying job they have, and they do have a real job to go to in the private sector if they don't win the election or if they lose the election if they're an incumbent. I guarantee, apply that rule. Anthony, Eric, myself, we're public servants because we all take a pay cut. And the bottom line is, again, we have plenty of Republicans that are in that politician category as well. And that's why, Sacramento, that's why the GOP, the state party, which I gave up on 20, 30 years ago, there's a lot of politicians in that. I quit going. Bobby knows that because what I saw were those politicians. I mean, they're on both sides of the aisle. So what has my background been? I've been a guy that 3 times in my life has been asked to step up for public service and make the sacrifice, and I did. The first time was in County of Santa Barbara, 1986 to 94. Our businesses were under attack. Some of you older folks in here remember one of the most draconian regulatory agencies in the state of California, the Air Pollution Control District, was doing incredible, crazy things. And I agreed to step out of my law firm and run. I won. The news press used to call me 4-to-1 Mike. When I left the board, I was and I was in the minority. When I left the board, I was 4-to-1 Mike in the majority. Andy Caldwell will tell you, he has said publicly numerous times, in all his years as a government watchdog, I was the most effective county supervisor he ever worked with, even when I was in the minority. And then when we faced a budget crisis because of the recession at the end of the 80s, I put together the reorganization plan that consolidated 37 agencies into 27, went from a 10% surplus or a 10% budget deficit to a 15% surplus. In 1992, there's a magazine called Governing Magazine that really is, the elected officials and the public employees, it's a magazine for them. Every year they give out the most valuable public official in county government in America, city government in America, state government in America. In 1992, for those reorganization efforts, I won the most valuable public official in county government in America for how I reorganized and went from a 10% deficit to a 15% surplus.
Wow.
Trust me, there's a whole lot of money being wasted in this state that I'd be more than happy to tackle with. I went back to the private sector, started making a lot of money again to pay off the debt from when I was in the public sector and wasn't making any money. And then Governor Wilson called up and said, Mike, the California Ag Labor Relations Board has been under scandal. There's been a lot of corruption in it. I want to point you to the chair. I want you to turn it around. That was 1995. I took it on. In 1997, the Sacramento Bee, not a conservative newspaper, wrote an editorial commending me for turning the Agricultural Labor Relations Board, restoring integrity, eliminating the corruption, and making it an agency that we could again trust in California. So I left. Don't clap too much. You're taking up my time. I left, went back to the private sector. In 2000, and then I helped out President Trump on the campaign trail, did a lot of, I was a senior policy advisor, did some speech writing. In 2017, I was appointed, I got to tell you, the coolest job I've ever had in my life, Southwest Administrator for the United States Environmental Protection Agency. I was administering the EPA for 80 million people in 8 time zones from New Mexico, the Navajo Nation in New Mexico, to the Mariana Islands with America, Samoa, Guam, Hawaii, California, Arizona, Nevada in between. And get this, folks, and I'll share with you on strategy how this will be another reason why we're going to win. She'll probably wish she never wrote that. I have a letter from Speaker Pelosi commending me for restoring integrity, transparency, and credibility to the United States Environmental Protection Agency. I guarantee, I am the only high-level Trump appointee that has a letter like that from Speaker Pelosi. And we'll talk about that in a second. So I bring those up because anything I've done when I've stepped up to the plate, I've delivered. And there's a lot at stake here in California, and I'll talk about that when we close. So how did I get here? Probably why God works in mysterious ways. I really, for the last 4 or 5 years of my life, have been telling people I would never run for office again, because I really believed I'd never run for office again. And people like Speaker Pelosi, if they ever thought I would have run for office again, never would have written that letter to me. So maybe God was making me really make people think I wouldn't run for office again, because I not only have a letter from Speaker Pelosi like that, I have really positive comments about how Mike Stoker works with everybody to get things done, from Congressman Salud Carbajal, Doss Williams, former Congresswoman Lois Capps, and I guarantee they are going to have a heart attack when the TV ad runs and in their mailbox, what do prominent Democrats think of Republican Mike Stoker here? So I really didn't think I would run. And we had redistricting. And, you know, people like our Assemblyman Jordan Cunningham, who represents so you just know the brand new district is all Santa Barbara County. It's not split anymore. Santa Barbara County, and then southern San Luis Obispo County, Napoma, which is conservative. Those are our people, trust me. I didn't think I'd run. Assemblyman Jordan Cunningham said, Mike, you got to run, you can win. And he's one of my honorary co-chairs for the campaign. Brooks Firestone, who many of you know, said, Mike, you got to run, you can win. People like Bobby is saying, Mike, you got to run, you can win. A lot of prominent Republicans, I go, look at, I'm there for everybody else. I counted it up. I got involved doing this in 1980 when I first started helping Brooks Firestone run for assembly. He lost to Jack O'Connell, came back years later, and he won and was the last Republican in the assembly to represent southern Santa Barbara County. I'll be the next Republican to represent southern Santa Barbara County. I counted it up. I'm not one of those, I'm a team player. I'm there to help everybody, and that's another reason why I'm not just going to be so effective as your assemblyman. I'm going to be so effective helping you with the causes we believe in, all the candidates, from city council, school board, you name it. I helped, since 1980, 312 different candidates. Wow. We counted them up. Can you imagine if I was the assemblyman right now, how that would make an impact for these 2 candidates running? Mm-hmm. That's a game changer. It's just not what the votes I bring to the legislature. It's just not what I push for legislation. It's not fighting the stupid stuff and pushing for the good stuff. It's also what you can do in your district for causes and initiatives and the local candidates. And that's what I'll be doing. So I really didn't think I was going to run. Brooke said run, Bobby, all of them said, and I was like, look at it, I'll help other people. My wife in January said, honey, you're the one that always says, kind of what Eric just said, if not us, who, and if not when. She goes, you know, you're the one that always says you don't have a right to complain about anything unless you do whatever you can to change things. For some people, it's just vote. Like we were talking about the 2.5 million Republicans that didn't vote. They don't have a right to complain. They'll have a right if they vote now, and we're going to make sure, hopefully, they do. Because all the Bobbies and all the Central Committee are going to make sure they're shamed if they don't vote. But she said, you know, there's some it's just vote. For some, like you, it's be an activist, help your candidates. And she goes, for a handful, you got to be, it's the candidate. It's the person who can make the change. That's you. And I just hope you'll have an open mind. I did a lot of prayer, turned to the man upstairs, and, you know, had some prayers with my pastor. You know, open the doors meant to happen, close it if it, you know, not supposed to happen. Excuse me? I'm getting there, Bobby. Will you let me? So anyway, part of the open the door, shut them, I told Bobby and others, do a poll. If it shows I can win the race, I'll run. If it shows I can't win the race, I'm not running. Well, unless God made bogus results, we're winning. So the poll showed we would win. I told them I'd run. I'm running, and that's when we got in the race, and that's when I made the decision. And you know, and this was really a lot of prayer that went into it, and a lot of the signs, because I really never thought I would run again. I really thought those days were over. And I right now, for all of you, I just want you to know, if I ever run again, it's only going to be because I'm running for re-election. That's it. I will never run again if I don't win this race. So now, why are we going to win? I've never seen a race where issues are so much on our side. You know, in our district with that poll, are we in the right direction or somewhere wrong direction? 78% we're in the wrong direction. That's all voters. I'm running against a guy who's as partisan as they can come as a Democrat, has never opposed the governor, not once, and he never will. He's a partisan, extreme partisan Democrat who's beholden to that left-wing progressive wing of the party, and that's where he's going to vote every time. Energy policies. Do you support energy policies to lower the price of gas at the pump? I think everybody in here, that's a no-brainer. You know, 81% in our district support that. He's been on the opposite end of those policies. Water policies that will make water readily available for all California residents. 80% support those policies. He's on the wrong end of that. Do we support law enforcement? Are you folks all crazy about defunding the police? No. I have a record for 30, you know, the cool thing about this race is I'm not making up these issues to win on issues. This is the stuff I've been about all my life. Any of you that know me, everything I'm talking about, fighting for water policies and energy policies and law enforcement and the taxpayer and small business and parental rights, I've been talking about every day since the first time I entered public service. Law enforcement, my opponent led the efforts to defund the police or the sheriff and the DAs last year, which is why I am endorsed by the Santa Barbara County Deputy Sheriff's Association representing, now that's significant. They endorsed me over an incumbent county supervisor. And they're the county cops. So law enforcement, on small business, you know, do you support all the mandates running our small businesses out of business to other states? Of course not. And neither does 76% of all the people in this district. On taxes, I mean, I'm the former president of the Santa Barbara County Taxpayers Association. Do you support our taxes being raised? Of course not. My opponent has never seen a tax that he didn't support, and he has been actively engaged on supporting efforts to remove business properties from Prop 13 protection. And let me tell you something. Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association, which is obviously the leading taxpayer group in the state of California, they usually take for a non-incumbent 3 to 4 months to vet a candidate. I announced on a Friday, some of you were here, on Monday morning, the president of Howard Jarvis, John Capal, called me and said, Mike, this is kind of a no-brainer. You got the endorsement. There'd be no better legislator than you in Sacramento fighting for the taxpayer. Wow. So what's so unique in this election, and this kind of segues into why we're going to win it with those issues. In a lot of elections, you're looking for an issue that 56% of the voters are on your side. Water policies, energy policies, parental rights, taxes, small business, law enforcement, It's in the 70 percentile up to 80, low 80s, 81, that's on our side of the issue. Our polling shows, and that's where, so that's number one, why we win the issues. Number two, we win because the South County Democratic machinery has always underestimated the North County. They have no clue about, especially North County Democrats. I won 60% of North County Democrats when I was a 5th District Supervisor. Jordan Cunningham 2 years ago in a horrible election cycle for Republicans, horrible, got 50% of the Democrat vote in Santa Maria. I've been saying that, and some of you Republicans here, you're not the ones I'm talking about, but there are other Republicans down here in South County, you'll know who this does refer to. I've been saying for 30 years, North County Democrats are often more conservative than South County Republicans.
Yep.
And there's a lot of truth to that. And that's why we win. In the polling, I bring over, when they know where I stand on issues, 40% of Democrats in North County move our way. 90% of all independents. Now, I have a lot of those folks to begin with because of my name ID, and they know what I've stood for. But that's another reason why we're going to win this one. They all understand the Democratic machinery. Two things: they underestimate the Democrat vote in North County. And you know the other thing they've done, and I've been dealing with this as a county supervisor. We talked about this up in the Santa Maria town hall earlier today. And I've seen this personally, where literally they would joke with me. They'll refer to North County as the Bakersfield West, the country bumpkins, you know, those hicks up in North County. That's how the elitist Democrats here in South County look at a lot of the North County folks. You know, and the bottom line is they are counting that North County, got to remember, we now have a 50-50 split in population. North County has as much pull, if they use it on voting, as South County. And historically, they have not turned out in the same percentages as South County. And because I'm so well known in North County, I'm capable of waking those folks up and saying, don't let South County steal this election. They're counting on you to stay home. They're counting on you. They don't think that you're smart enough to vote. Well, you send a message to South County and you get out to vote, I guarantee our campaign can mobilize those North County voters, and we're going to do that. That's the second reason we're going to win. The third reason, and it's already been touched on, and we say it in different ways, my wife Debbie basically says, with all the COVID stuff and what the federal government and Newsom and the state government has done in the last 3 years with COVID, she'll say they poked the mama bear. And I can tell you this, and I've told Barbara this, you know, and I don't want to say shame on a lot of you for the last 30 years, but you know what COVID did? It's created a movement beyond the Tea Party. And I, unfortunately, having been a guy out there for the last 30 years, you know, as the incumbent campaigning or campaigning for office or helping other people, there were a whole lot of people that just never got involved with politics for whatever reason before COVID. And shame on you for back then. But they have now been awoken. I mean, the mama bear got poked, and the sleeping giant has awoken. And basically, it is the most active political base of supporters that I've ever seen in my life. And you know what the good news is? They're on the side of every candidate in this room. Every single candidate in this room. Every one of us. And that's the third reason why we're going to win. So, you know, I just want to thank all of you. Please take yard signs. Take one for your residence, your business property. Take one for friends. You know, and I want you each have an envelope there. And I am going to make this race, if we're properly funded, we'll have the message out. We have the message out. We're going to win. But I want everyone here can write a check between $1 and $4,900. And I really, truly mean this. If somebody only, for whatever reason, can write a $1 check or a $5 check, obviously I'd prefer the $4,900 check and anything in between. But you write a $1 check or write a $5 check. And you know why? When you send money to a candidate, you've invested in that candidate. You have ownership. It's like having timeshare ownership or having co-op owner. You have ownership, and you will care that much more about your candidate. You will tell that many more of your neighbors and friends about that candidate. You will be more inclined to have a meet and greet or host an event at your house for that candidate. So if you've contributed, I thank you. If you haven't, I ask you to do it, whatever the amount that you feel good about. And, I just want you all to know, this was inside baseball, and you're all going to have just remember that day when it comes, because trust me, the other side are going to go ballistic. When that day comes, that mail piece hits, and that TV ad runs, what do prominent Democrats think about Republicans? Thank you all very much.
What's going on? Why are there greater than 100% of voters within various precincts actually voting? This doesn't seem right. At best, there's some kind of sloppy math going on here. At worst, well, it could be some kind of fraud. What's going on? They didn't respond until we forced them to respond via a PRA, or Public Records Act request. They said, well, something to do with the provisional ballots, yada, 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 a lot of verbiage, and they gave us some data from 2008. I'm like, hold up, this is the 2020 election here. 2008 was 12 years ago. What happened? No response. So there's some issues going on here locally in our local elections office. Also, I'll say this, who, by a show of hands, likes and believes in vote by mail ballots? No, we don't. I will tell you this, Joe Holland was one of the progenitors of vote by mail ballots being permanently installed here in California. That was him. Exactly. So once again, as you guys said before, we do not agree, nor do we like what's going on here in the status quo. So it's time for us to take action. First step is you're coming here to hear all the candidates speak. You check that box. Now there's more action that's required of us. I and the other candidates are going 110% every single day. We have 2 more weeks left in this election, just 14 days. For Christy and I, in this local election, that's it for us. We don't go on to November. We're done. Either we win or we lose come June 7th. Right now, only 7% of this county, of the voter population within this county has actually voted. 7%. So we have 2 more weeks to go. 7% has voted. It's two things. Number one, we need to get out there and vote. Yeah. We need to tell our friends, we need to tell our family, we need to tell our neighbors, friends, maybe enemies, I don't know, if they share the same ideals. Get out there and vote. Tell everyone that you know to vote. We are in a crisis of trust in this government, with our government. And because of that, it takes us and word of mouth to actually convince people to vote for a candidate. They aren't going to really trust anything but you as a friend, family, or neighbor. Secondly, not a lot of people are voting, so that's good for us, actually. Because we are, right now, the minority. If not a lot of people are voting, that means the minority can sway the vote. Yeah. We have the opportunity right now in this primary to make huge changes if we get out there and vote. Thirdly, beyond that vote, what we got to do, beyond voting, beyond telling your folks or your family or your friends, is donating to campaigns. It's like Mike said, if you do $1 or more, you got to make that investment because campaigns cost money. One of the things that I hope to change when I become into the clerk, recorder, assessor position is it costs thousands to tens of thousands of dollars, $1,000 and $12,000 if you're going to run for office. You have to file these fees. So right there from the bat, they have created this economic barrier for people like ourselves as regular people who want to create change. Status quo has got to go. Yeah. And I will say one more, thank you. I'll say one more thing, is that integrity is vital for these offices, integrity. If you have the ability plus the knowledge, minus that integrity, all that equals is corruption. So we need to put honest, integral candidates into these positions. So, number one, as I said, get yourself educated. Come here, come to these forums, learn about the candidates so you can tell other people about it. Actually, right now, we have Michelle Westlander-Quaid. Raise your hand. She is running for the U.S. Congressional 24th District. We're all, if we live within the Santa Barbara County, we're all in her district. So educate yourself on her. Educate yourself on Mike and Eric and Christy and myself. Learn about what's going on so you can go and tell your friends and family, hey, these are these candidates, and if they have questions, you can be like, I know those answers. Vote. I recommend voting early. You can walk if you are concerned about the safety of your ballot, take your ballot in person to the elections office. You can take your ballot in person to the polling place. If you've already voted, just give it to the poll worker and they'll take it on and count it. Those are probably, besides voting in person, those are two pretty safe ways to vote. So we gotta vote, we gotta donate, we gotta make those sacrifices because this is our time. As it has been said earlier today, if not now, when? Thank you all.
Our last candidate. She has taught all grade levels in education here in Santa Barbara and especially loves teaching elementary school. She loves seeing her students learn. This is her passion. But most seriously, Christy exposed the woke agenda in public schools, which has now gone viral across this nation. Yes, and has shaken things up. She is an education whistleblower and was featured on Fox News with Laura Ingraham. Let's welcome fearless and unashamed Christy Lozano.
These are some amazing people to follow. I'm so excited about this election because we are making a difference, and together we're making a difference. I've been teaching for 18 years in the school district, and I've always been an advocate for kids. I'm also a parent of a 16-year-old in our local high schools, and I'm a United States Air Force veteran. I served during 9/11 and overseas in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom in a medical evacuation squadron. So going into help people and save people is not new for me, and it runs very deep. And so I am excited to do this. What does the superintendent of the county office of education do? It's one of the most important jobs in our county and the one least that you have at least amount of information about. She oversees a school. There's 102 kids dedicated to her school, as well as over 700 preschoolers. She looks over teacher credentials and administrative credentials, and they have a mentoring program here locally in Santa Barbara. She also oversees facilities, budgets, signs off on budgets. She has sole authority to sign off on funds that go to the local districts. There's 20 local districts, and she has the ability to sign off on those funds. Out of the 102 kids that she has assigned to her, I'm going to get into some of the problems. There's a lot of problems, but I'm just going to touch on a few. Out of her 102 students that are assigned to her right now, 0 are literate in English and math. And those are the students that are most closely under her wing. We have 67,000 students in our county. Over half of them are below state achievement levels in reading, and over 2/3 of them are not proficient in math. And so the outcomes of our county are below poverty level, I would say. She oversees $100 million at the County Office of Education. If you add up the funds for all 20 districts, it's $1.1 billion. So I would say the outcomes for the investment are not in the positive, they're in the negative. And we can do something about that in this election. Another problem is that nobody has run against this position for the last 40 years. There has not been somebody who's come forward to be elected, and so there hasn't been the oversight and there hasn't been the accountability needed in order to make sure our kids are being educated. I have some priorities in this election. Some of my priorities, which I feel like I've already demonstrated, one of them is transparency. Making curriculums available for parents to see. bringing transparency to budgets and showing people where the money is going. I did the YouTube video, and I've done other videos since I ran for this position. And, you know, when I put my name on the ballot, they filed a lawsuit against me to get me off the ballot. That tells me we're going in the right direction. If you would like to see the YouTube video, just Google me on YouTube and you can hear the whole story. They do not want to lose the power of this position. It's a very powerful position, and they know it, and they're working hard to fight against that. Let's see. Okay, the problems. So the solution, I'm back to, my priorities. So priority number 1, transparency. Priority number 2, good student outcomes. Using curriculum that works, using curriculum that has outcomes and will educate the children of our county and give them a hope in a future. They say that mental illness is a crisis right now. Well, part of that's because they're not learning. And they need to be learning, and they need to be doing things that feel good, that they feel good about. And if they're not learning, then they're not going to feel good. And so we need to turn that around. We need our schools to be safe. Safety is a priority. Just like Mike, I got endorsed by the Santa Barbara Deputy Sheriff's Association because they know that in our school to prison pipeline that we currently have right now, that young people grow up into adults and then they have to deal with them. And so we need to teach them on a very young, really young age that it matters, that rules matter, that authority matters, and that they need to follow those rules and follow authority. And we need to start that at a very young age. So safety is a priority. Nonpartisanship. We cannot be teaching kids closed-minded thinking, and a lot of the stuff that Eric Early talked about, the critical race theory and all the things that go along with that. It's not the necessarily, well, it is the subject matter that's being taught, but really it's about the mindset that they're creating in these little kids, and it's going to be a mindset that's very hard to come back from if we don't do something about it now. The last is engaged leadership. We need leaders who are going to listen. We need leaders who have vision and good leadership skills. Right now, that is what the county superintendent of schools is lacking. There's no vision and there's no good leadership. And so we need to not just replace my position, but we need to replace positions on the county board of education. We need to replace positions on the local school boards. And we need to put people in place that are going to do something about these problems. And we're not going to fight this if we do not replace those positions. So we need people to step up and to roll up their sleeves, just as we have all done, so that we can take back our schools and we can take back our communities. There's 58 superintendents in California, and I really think that this position is what's undermining our communities. And in Santa Barbara specifically, for the last 15 years, they have been indoctrinating teachers and students and parents, and all of those people have grown up. And they are voting now, and they are in the community, and we are seeing the effects of what this has done to our state. And so, like Eric Early talked about, there's 58 superintendents, and we get to be the first in the state to show what a difference this position can make. And so that's part of the plan. Some of the solutions that I have, we're going to start a literacy task force right away. We are going to sit down with the nonprofits and the consultants that are hired by the district, by the County Board of Education, and as much as we can in the districts. And we are going to see what the outcomes are for all this money, all these millions of dollars that we're paying to these people, and the outcomes that are, in my opinion, probably not happening. And we are going to cancel contracts that are not legitimate and not providing resources and education and the things that students need in the classroom. So I would say, if, like Mr. Trimino talked about, this is a David and Goliath moment, and we are fighting Goliath. And I would say that you guys are the Davids. You are the ones, and we are the smooth stones. So you take your smooth stone and you throw it at the giant and take him out. And that's what we have to do. That's how we're going to win this race. It is going to be by word of mouth, because my signs will not stay in the ground in Santa Barbara. They keep getting stolen. So it's not about the signs, it's about the vote. So make sure you vote, make sure you tell your friends to vote, make sure you tell your neighbors to vote, make sure you tell people at the grocery store to vote. I mean, probably the most beautiful thing that I've seen during this campaign is how much energy has been created behind my campaign. I mean, mine's the only one that I see, but there's been so much positive energy. There's been money just flowing in like crazy. We're gonna go do some TV commercials this week. If you want to support that, we're going all out because we are sending a message that you are not allowed to touch our kids. You take your hands off of our kids because we're in charge. And so I thank you guys very much. Thank you for setting this up, Barbara. Thank you for all the work that each one of you is doing, because I know you're all doing a lot of work. We're doing a lot of work, and I know you're doing a lot of work, and you are spreading the word, and you are having those conversations, and those conversations matter. Those little conversations matter, because this is a very low information position. It's a very low information election, and sometimes they'll just vote for me because they like the sign or they like the yellow jacket that I'm wearing or something like that. It doesn't take much. So thank you very much. Take signs. There's donation envelopes. You go on the website. You can Google my name. There's tons of articles, and there's all the information you could ever want.
Wow. All I can say is wow. Can you imagine what we can do to this state and to our local government? Elrawd, Christy, we have to get out there, guys. We have to get the word out there. We have to move. Every single one of us should be taking flyers, talking to our friends and family. This is our moment. This is our Goliath moment, and we are the Davids, and we will sling that stone. So thank you, Christy.